saw Liverpool didn't panic either. And equally, Atletico have posed a threat going forward. That it's not like that was their only chance of that first half.
Yeah, I mean, so just they've took Mane off and brought Origi on for the second half, because just at the back end of the second half there, Mane caught a couple of Atletico players with elbows, and I think
he picked up a booking.
And I think he's just one little indiscretion away, because he got booked and then he got away with one, I'd have thought. So I think Liverpool, just as a precaution there, just take him out of the fire. And
Pretty good decision, because it's tempting to leave him on.
Yeah, but I think it's a good decision, to be honest, because you know, Origi, club obviously has good feelings about him in the Champions League, and he's hoping maybe his pace or his direct running as well might open them up. But basically, yeah, for the game, it's two teams doing exactly what they do well. You know, it's just a shame for Liverpool that Atletico have got their noses in front, because now they really have something to cling on to, and they will be a dog with a bone, and with this lead. But Liverpool just need to keep going, keep plugging away, keep doing what they're doing, and trust their process, trust what they do, and trust that they will score out here tonight. And if they don't, trust they'll score at Anfield.
Yeah, there will be people just tuning in. So in terms of chances, the Morata chance in the first half for Atletico was about the most clear-cut one, aside from the goal. And then Salah had, I was going to call it a half chance, but actually it was better than a half chance. It never actually made its way to goal. Defender got his head in the way of it. They were the two big moments. It
was the one chance Liverpool created, really, with a big, good, intricate play between Mane. Firmino kind of got a little bit lucky, ricochet off shins, but Firmino pulled it back to Salah on his left foot, and he's kind of gone to bend it in the top corner, and it's just clipped the centre-back's head and gone over for a corner. When maybe if he went low and hard, potentially he might have got it in. But look, it's a chance. He made good connection with it, and it's just unfortunate that the defender got his head in the way of it. But Morata had a fantastic chance to make it too. And that's what I like about Atletico. I mean, they're primed for the breakaway, but they don't break away every time. It's maybe only once or twice. So they know that when they win the ball back off Liverpool, they'll try and get a pass off, but they don't go gung-ho. Everybody can just go run. So then if Liverpool win it back off them very quickly, there's no spaces, so they don't let them counter the counter-attack, if you know what I mean. Yeah. They're very, very, very clever that when they do commit bodies forward, everybody recognises, OK, this is good, solid possession. Morata, it's stuck. He's got a little bit of time. No, we'll go. It's not kind of, oh, we've cleared it. Is it 50-50 possession? I'm going to make a run in case he wins it. It's not. They're very, very, very disciplined in what they do. And they really do pick and choose their times very, very well.
The intelligence of all these players really jumps out in a night like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it goes back to what you were saying about the manager's repetitive training. I mean, I could only imagine training if, you know, you were having an 11v11 and, you know, there's a ball up to Morata and he hasn't secured it, and Koke or someone decides, you know what, I'm going to gamble that he will secure this because I'm on the other side of the fullback now, and all of a sudden he breaks away, Van Dijk wins it back off him, or whoever he's playing against wins it back off him, and all of a sudden fires it into Trent, and now Koke is on the wrong side. They're the gaps that they don't allow. Simeone loses his mind if that happens. That's exactly the thing that he would be screaming at. See, here we go now again. See, they're very efficient on the break. Atletico 3v2 here.
Could be in here, Atletico. It's 3v3. A bit of the impetus has gone out of it. Liverpool have got bodies back. Yeah. And on top of that, when they do, you know, win the ball off Liverpool in their defensive third, and they do get 2 or 3 passes off, they're not like, you know, they don't go for the jugular straight away. Good chance here to get a shot away, ball in the area, miscontrolled. They do retain the ball very, very well, and then they make Liverpool kind of regain their shape, and they recycle it reasonably well. But they're so disciplined that when they lose the ball, if the person can't win it back or can't affect the Liverpool player that has it, they just give it up. They say, no problem, there you go, and they all just turn and run back to there. I was just going to say, not that it's old-fashioned in any way, because it's just good organisation, but they are a slight counterpoint to the high-pressing teams, which are so much in vogue right now. They are not afraid to sit back in, I guess, what you would call now a low press. Atletico? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when they lose the ball, they don't get countered because they don't try and win it back again straight away. They just give it up and they retreat, and everybody gets back in their slot and they slow it right down, and then they say, okay, no problem, are you good enough to break us down? It's very much at odds with, you know, the Barcelona team really initiated that 6-second rule. Yeah. Everybody try and win it back. They often don't. They turn and head for safety. Yeah, pretty much, and they're very, very good at it, and they're so organised, and it's easy to underestimate that. It's
the level of concentration, focus, and dedication they have to it is just is phenomenal.
It's Mourinho-esque at his best, isn't it? Like the Inter Milan team, for instance.
Yeah, almost certainly. But I think Atletico are definitely better built for it. You know, Jose has his way of doing things, but I mean, this guy is just 180 the other way. It's just, he's so defensive. It's untrue. I think Jose wouldn't drop off that much and just sit in and drag 11 players into the defensive third. Yeah. Not the defensive half, the defensive third of the pitch. Yeah. I mean, you see Morata right in the edge of the defensive third, and that's the two centre forwards. When they can't win the ball back, it's phenomenal.
I have no doubt that they have Arrigo Sacchi style. They're tied to each other in training. The spacing is perfect at all times.
Pretty much, man. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Liverpool then, how have you, Liverpool fans listening, maybe in the car coming home, trying to get home and see the rest of this game, how have they coped against that, the brilliance of what Atletico do?
They've done fine. I mean, they've retained possession, they haven't panicked and tried to score straight away. They're recycling the ball. It's probably one thing this Liverpool team isn't good at, is recycling an awful lot of possession, because they don't have, especially when the midfield three, they're not the most creative, where they can pick a pass, but they just kind of bludgeon you with time and time and time again, and hopefully that with enough attacks they will break you down. But Liverpool just need to keep doing what they're doing, just keep getting the ball forward, keep trying to get in behind Atletico. I think that's one way that I haven't mentioned. It's very, very difficult because there's only about 20 yards, especially when they're on their 18-yard box, so there's only 18 yards. But a couple of times they've clipped nice little balls for kind of a straight ball, diagonal run. Salah's got in a couple of times, and that way you can move the centre-backs out. So one of the centre-backs will go with Salah. So it's stuff like that, a straight ball and a diagonal run, and hopefully move the back four around that way. And then when you come and recycle it, you've got a broken shape and you might get a chance.
Yeah. Okay, it's an interesting game. There will probably come a point as well where Liverpool decide 1-0 is okay and let's make sure not to concede 2. So that's where we are. We're at 51 minutes. By the way, on Virgin Media Sport tonight, Niall Quinn and Graham Souness were talking about Jordan Henderson. We touched on him, actually. We were talking off-air about the player that Henderson has turned himself into. Quinn was calling him a modern-day Roy Keane. Souness believes, as you'll hear here, he is a strong contender for the Player of the Season award. Have a listen.
He's come some journey from a guy who was described by Alex Ferguson in his book as a fellow who doesn't run properly.
Respond to that? The Roy Keane of this Liverpool team?
Yeah, I think he's got every chance of winning that individual honour, but I don't think that would be important to him. I think he's a real team player. He looks to be a really solid character. I think you have to give him great credit for dealing with the criticism that came his way in the early days at Liverpool. I think Brendan Rodgers was trying to sell him to Fulham at one point. I think when Jurgen Klopp was there, he wasn't quite sure if he was totally for him. And I think he's imposed himself on Jurgen Klopp. He said, I'm going to be that good, you just can't leave me out. And when you see him playing, yeah, he's not got the cute silky pass that De Bruyne would have, or a Silva would have, but he's got an unbelievable appetite for hard work. And he makes the rest of them run around with enthusiasm and be aggressive with it. He is exemplary, and there's every chance he'll win it. Yeah. And there's a real argument for him winning.
Yeah, I mean, he's really turned himself around, Henderson. There's an authority about his play now, Damien, that maybe people didn't expect him to develop, certainly not to this extent, and the hard work we take for granted. There is also a real quality about a lot of his play as well.
That's the bit he's improved, where he's just that little 5% where he's passing the ball forward more. His range of passing is an awful lot better, but he was always a workaholic, always full of legs, full of running, and he really has grown into the Liverpool captaincy and as a leader for that team. And he's a leader because he epitomises everything this Liverpool team is about, just a relentlessness in what they do. And I think that's the effect that he has on the team. He sets a standard and a tempo and brings an energy to it. Yeah. And he deserves Player of the Year, because while he won't be aesthetically pleasing like a David Silva and pick nice little passes and stuff, because that's what Silva kind of epitomises Manchester City, that's what they do. Jordan Henderson epitomises Liverpool and what Liverpool are about. And Liverpool are the best team in the country, most likely the world. So why shouldn't he get Player of the Year? I think he should, because he is everything that they're about. By the way, Mo Salah's had a fantastic chance, cross the back post, and he was unmarked, and he just had to head it back across goal, and he didn't. He went to the near post and it went wide. So Liverpool definitely up the tempo a little bit. Liverpool definitely having a lot more openings, and they just need to keep this up, keep the tempo high and don't let Atletico settle, and keep moving around as much as they can with this nice little 1-2 touch football around the edge of the box, and hopefully they get more chances.
They're starting to threaten. When you used the word there, tempo, about Henderson, you were saying, and it's evident in his passing in particular, he forces a tempo on other players.
Yeah, I think sometimes when Jordan Henderson passes the ball, even though it's a simple 15-yard pass to Trent Alexander-Arnold, he almost just quickens the game up, because when it comes to Trent, the pass comes with a message. And it's on the right side of him. It's where he wants Trent to go, and so far as to go forward, to pass it just a yard in front of his front foot, and he passes it at a pace where Trent will actually have to really focus to control it and get out in front. And that's what crisp passing does. It sets a great tempo for the team, and almost frightens the player into quickening it up.
Anyone who's a bit slack, it wakens everybody up pretty quickly.
It does, definitely.
I must say, and I hate talking down Henderson because I really admire the way he's turned himself into the player that he is. I can't look past Van Dijk again for player of the season. I just can't. And there have been periods in this season, especially when the league was more in the mix, where he was, once again, incredible. And if you took him out of that team, they are a very different team. And I think if you take Henderson out of the team, they could withstand that loss a touch more.
I agree. They can withstand it by kind of becoming a little bit, maybe I won't say different, but they can, replace him a little bit. But when he plays, he takes that team to another level. Both of them do, without a shadow of a doubt.
You're talking down a good player either way.
I mean, it's both of them, one without the other, Liverpool aren't the same. But for me, Henderson just is relentless in what he does. And he would just frighten the life out of you if you were playing with him, because he would just run, and he makes you run. And then on the flip side, he frightens the opposition with his intensity. So for me, why not? He epitomises Liverpool. He's everything that's good about Liverpool right now.
Get your vote if you're still there.
Yeah.
That was the discussion on Virgin Media Sport. They've over 400 UEFA Champions League, Europa League and Nations League games live this season. The game's available to all Virgin Media TV customers, who can also download the TV Anywhere app and stream the action whenever and wherever they like. This time last night we were watching the Chelsea-Manchester United game. Andy Mitten was on OTBAM this morning, giving his take on the United match. They are a strange team at the moment, Manchester United. Another brilliant away win against a top six side. And naturally enough, Andy Mitten reckons it will have done a lot for the mood at Old Trafford.
I was waiting outside the changing room area after the game, and everything seemed to be sweetness and nice, which I could not have predicted ahead of that match. There were so many positives that came out of it. Harry Maguire got his first league goal, and that was much needed. He had a great game. Eric Bailly was the guy I spoke to. It was his first competitive game since last April. I thought he had a really good match. And United rode the luck. They didn't start particularly well. They looked very rusty at the start, including Bailly. But a 2-0 win at Chelsea, that's closed the gap to 3 points against Chelsea in fourth. Had Chelsea won, that would have been 9 points. So it was a really, really important that Manchester United didn't lose at Stamford Bridge last night. That they won. Well, the sun's rising above Stamford Bridge behind me, and life seems quite wonderful.
Yeah, there's very few 6 pointers in your life where you actually get the 6 points as obvious. It was a legitimate 6 pointer, and to come through on the other side of that gives everybody a little bit of confidence. Fernandes was good in midfield. There's enough building blocks here. Aaron Wan-Bissaka looked like someone who is growing into the role and the responsibilities, and has a sense of confidence in his own ability now.
Yeah, Bissaka's crossing is really improved, and there's elements of his game when he's going forward which are not as good as when he's defending. And the defences look quite settled this year, so it was a surprise that Lindelof was taken ill. But Bailly told me that he's been going to see the manager saying, when am I going to play? When am I going to play? He got his chance. He absolutely took his chance. I think you're right about Bruno Fernandes. He gives an attacking impetus. He put the ball in for Harry Maguire. And it's all right me saying Harry Maguire should be getting his head onto more balls. If he's not getting good quality balls, and he hasn't been this season, then he's only partly to blame for that. Fernandes has come in, he's looking confident, he's playing in a new league, and he's not really done anything wrong yet. He had a pretty encouraging debut, but United have got to be winning. They'd won 9 out of 25 league games before last night. It's nowhere near good enough when the team are 8th and 9th. So to get that win, and what they've got to do now, and it brings back to your first point, they're playing Watford at the weekend. When they played Watford in December, they'd just beaten Spurs, they'd just beaten City. Watford had won 1 out of 17, and United lost. And they were terrible. It was so bad. And that wasn't an isolated bad performance. They were bad against Burnley at Old Trafford. They lost at home to Crystal Palace. You've got to be beating teams like that. And if not, people will start to ask questions of the manager, saying, well, if you can't beat teams like this, why are you the manager?
Yeah, and it's well and good being up for the big games. It's well and good being tactically astute and planning for those big games, but you've got to do it against all those other teams as well. What was the formation last night, and was this, how often have we seen that this season? I'm not sure.
It was 3-4-1-2. With Jose Mourinho, I think he used 19 different defensive combinations in 21 matches. That's not happened this year. It's been very settled. You've had Bissaka at right back, Lindelof, Maguire, and then one of Young, Shaw, or Williams at left back, and obviously De Gea behind them. So it changed. Now, Bailly told me that they've been practicing that formation for a week. They were practicing it in Marbella, and this is how they decided to frustrate Chelsea. And it worked. And they're very good at frustrating the best teams. The results against the best teams are really impressive. They're the only team. There's a team called Liverpool, they're from a city quite close to Manchester, and I hear they're having a good season, but I saw them at Old Trafford in October, and Man United almost beat them. Wow, almost beat Liverpool. Here's this Manchester United person say. But the point is true. They can frustrate and beat and counter very well against the best teams. They can't break down the lesser teams. So it was a three at the back with Harry Maguire, probably his best game, in the middle, Luke Shaw to his left, and Bailly to his right, and they were fantastic.
Like, that is probably what got the best out of Harry Maguire, is it? I know you can judge things in isolation too much too often, but that ability to just step in a little bit, just to take a little extra yard or two to spray a pass left or right, because he has a protection now playing in the middle of a back three. This is possibly what will be the advent of Harry Maguire going on to have a great conclusion to the season. Yeah,
and you use the word great. I don't think he's been great so far. I think he's been good. I think he's been 7 out of 10. And last night, I think he was 9 out of 10. Given his price tag, which has nothing to do with him, he hasn't been the transformative signing that Van Dijk has been at Liverpool, for example. And while that goal's rightly celebrated last night, it was his first league goal. And he's played more than any other Manchester United player this season. He's played at least 4 games more than anybody else. And I think it's not been easy for him playing in behind a midfield which has been so unsettled. But it was really encouraging. He needed that goal, he really did, and he needs the crosses that he's getting, and hopefully that'll lift his confidence, because first goal in the league in the middle of February, I think United fans are not unreasonable in asking for a little bit more, but he's the captain. I think he's had a good first season. He just needs to, if United are going to be serious about winning trophies again, he needs to become a great captain, a great leader, and one of the best defenders in the world.
Is a great fox in the box and a great goal poacher somebody who can do nothing for an entire half and score a header like Anthony Martial did last night?
Yeah, it was frustrating in the first half an hour because things were not coming off for him, and he takes chances, and when you're an attacking player, you try to beat somebody, you're more prone to losing the ball than if you're a defender and you're just passing it out. There was a few nice combinations on the left with Brandon Williams, but it was frustrating to watch. I'm not going to pretend otherwise. I was in the crowd. I could feel the mood of the crowd. And then bang, he does this Mick Harford impression. He rises above the defence, or is it Messi in Rome, where he became twice as high as he should have been, and scored a fantastic header. And I spoke to Bailly because he's quite close to Martial. Obviously, they're both French speakers, and he said it will be good for his head and good for his confidence, and also for that of the team. And I think that's true, because if you're playing as a central striker and you're not renowned as being a central striker, then you need things to go your way. They weren't at the start of the game, but that goal was really important for him, because he frustrates fans, because they can see that he's talented, and he'll have a good run of 5 or 6 games, and then they'll have a poor run of 5 or 6 games, and that, again, is not good enough for Manchester United.
Yeah, there we are. Andy Mitten on OTBAM this morning, speaking with Jaron Owen about Manchester United's win last night against Chelsea. It is still 1-0 to Atletico in Madrid against Liverpool, and it is still 0-0 in Dortmund. PSG away to Borussia Dortmund this evening with 65 minutes on the clock. No real developments in this game we're watching here. Damien Delaney?
No, Liverpool just...
Origi hasn't set the world alight since he's come
Origi's
on.
been atrocious. He's overrun. He's tried to run the fullback a couple of times and he's kind of come off his shin and gone out for goal kicks, and he's tried to cross the ball there and there's literally not one Liverpool player in the box, and then he's hit a crossfield pass that's nearly killed Trent Alexander-Arnold. But look, one of those little kind of fluky runs might come his way, which is probably all you can expect from him, you know.
Mane was on a yellow card if you're just tuning in. That was the reason he was taken off, most likely. He was getting a bit niggly. Do you have your headphones there? Did you see the Harry Maguire potential sending off last night?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
What did you think?
I think to let it right, should have been sent off, yeah.
Okay. So here's Harry Maguire speaking to Sky Sports. He's almost so nice here, I almost believe him. So here's Harry Maguire's explanation. Don't put at me on the radio. Right, here we go. Here's Harry.
I can see why I felt like at the time. I know I caught him, but I felt like he was going to fall on me. My natural reaction was to straighten my leg to try and, if he was to fall on me, to hold him up, type of thing. Obviously, I've got studs on my boots, and it probably looks worse than it was on TV. But no, it was my natural reaction just to try and. It wasn't a kick out. It wasn't any intent or anything like that. It was just my natural reaction to straighten my leg, and if he was going to fall on me, just to hold him up really. And I knew I did catch him, and I knew at the time. But no, I think it's the right decision in the end.
There, who doesn't want to be held up by a kick to the balls?
Oh, please, man. I just first of all, I mean, seriously, Joe. What is it? Like,
I'm convinced.
No, Shad.
Justice for Harry.
No. It's a red card to the letter of the law, and they've been quite strict with stuff like that as well. So I don't know why the video refs didn't give it. Maybe they didn't feel there was enough of a contact there, and it wasn't a vicious kick out, but nonetheless it's a kick out, and that excuse is just absolutely laughable, and I'm shocked that you bought into that.
I was being a little bit... But he looked so sad when he was giving the explanation. He was sorry. He's like, I know it looked bad, but, you know, I was trying to help him up. I thought he was going to fall.
What happened to the world where nice guys don't get anywhere?
I know. Well, do you know, interestingly, in the Sky studio, the lads were of the opinion that Maguire's personality, his character, his reputation probably saved him.
Come into it.
Saved him a little bit.
Can't possibly come into it.
Sorry. We're not saying should or shouldn't. We're dealing in realities here, and they were of the opinion that that does come into it.
No.
Yes, no, sorry, they weren't saying that's a good thing or that's correct.
Yeah.
But they were trying to explain why it had happened. And so they were saying one of the things might be that Maguire's reputation went before him, and that was why he was given the benefit of the doubt.
That does something worse and has a bad reputation, or does something sort of not as bad as that, but has a bad reputation, should go because, you know, he's
Sorry, it's not should.
Guy.
It's not should. We're just explaining human nature here.
No,
hang on. You're misunderstanding the point. They're not saying this is right. They're saying that clouds human judgment.
It shouldn't.
Oh my God. I know it shouldn't. That's not the point. The point is that's what could have happened here. Do you not think referees, when they see Suarez do something, treated him differently to other players? Of course they did. Frank Lampard and Suarez do the same thing. Who gets the benefit of the doubt? Frank Lampard.
And they shouldn't. And I know you saying that, I get it, but like it just upsets me to believe that.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Justice for Harry.
I'm going to tutter you all night now.
I know. Oh dear, I've upset you now. So 68 minutes on the clock. It's still 1-0. We're going to take a short break. By the way, somebody texted in earlier on saying, could we pay some kind of tribute to Harry Gregg, which we touched on last night, but we have dug out the interview he did with Oisín Langan back in 2008. So we're going to play you a couple of minutes of Harry Gregg in conversation back in 2008 with Oisín in a couple of minutes' time as well.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power, the greatest football partnership since Shearer and Owen.
This is OTB AM.
On this morning's OTB AM, Andy Mitten spoke about Manchester United's performances against the Big Six.
The results against the best teams are really impressive. Wow, almost beat Liverpool. Here's this Manchester United person say they can't break down the lesser teams.
And we also reacted to Mino Raiola's Instagram post about Paul Pogba.
There's a new kid coming up who uses TikTok instead of Instagram, and therefore they're hotter property than Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba is what age now? 26? His ability to bring in Instagram-like still exists, but can he do it on a wet Wednesday night on TikTok? I don't think he can.
Join us tomorrow morning from 7:30, where we'll have reaction to the Champions League, and also we look ahead to England versus Ireland in the Six Nations.
OTB AM, Ireland's only sports breakfast show, weekdays from 7:30 AM, only on OTB Sports Radio. Live 24/7 on the Go Loud app.
The Pat Kenny Show.
On tomorrow's programme, Luke O'Neill on the science of body fat, both the good and the bad. Why sexually transmitted diseases are on the increase. Bill Hughes behind the scenes at Oliver Stone's classic Born on the 4th of July. And of course, the breaking news.
The Pat Kenny Show.
With Jaguar.
Tomorrow morning at 9.
On News Talk.
Have a great evening with itsforwomen.ie. Don't live your life on hold. Get a quote now at itsforwomen.ie and see why we're trusted by over 130,000 women in Ireland.
How's your design meeting?
Bamboozling. Lots of acronyms. They need an EPS of the prototype, a PST summarising R&D, and high-res JPEGs. I am so OOMD.
Wait, what was the last one?
Out of my depth. Don't text your mates.
I'm calling Snap.
At Snap, we're your graphic design experts. So let us translate that complicated jargon into on-brand artwork. Logos, visual storytelling, or campaign creative. We'll do the work. You take the credit.
You say design, signage, display, digital, print. We say easy. Snap.ie.
House.
Digs.
Gaff. Pad.
Home. However you say it, we all deserve a place to call home. I'm Ciara from Harvey Norman Waterford. With our customer support since 2018, we have raised over €350,000 for Peter McVerry Trust. This February, we're fundraising to reach an overall total of €450,000. All money raised will help those experiencing homelessness. Attend our fundraising events in store or go to harveynorman.ie and help us reach our goal.
Go! Bring the day. Bring the new home.
Congratulations, the house is yours.
Bring new life. Bring new beginnings.
Enjoy college. Call us.
Bring the new year. Whatever change life brings, embrace it with a new Volkswagen. Discover unmissable offers and low-rate finance across the Volkswagen range. Search Volkswagen 201 and bring the change. Terms and conditions apply.
Tenerte como socio sería fantástico para nuestro equipo.
Tim has now been video calling on his mobile with his potential new business partners in Madrid for 45 minutes and 37 seconds. Luckily, time on his phone isn't a concern for Tim. With 3's €20 SIM-only business plan, he gets all calls, all texts, and all you can eat data, so he can just keep nodding while he Google translates what on earth they're saying. Switch today at your local 3 store or visit 3.ie/business. 3. Make it count. €20 a month for the first 6 months, €30 a month thereafter. 30-day minimum term. Fair usage allowance applies to data used in the EU. See 3.ie.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
So, big goal in Dortmund. Dortmund are 1-0 up. Guess who scored it, Damien Delaney?
Haaland.
Correct.
Outstanding.
He's going to be some player, it would appear.
Yeah, I mean, the trajectory he's on is just so...
Henderson.
The trajectory that he's on is just so steep and so, like...
Keeps reacting to the next step up, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's brilliant. And you wonder how long he'll be at Dortmund.
Yeah, 2 to 3 years tops.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be this summer, you know, if he has a good end of the season with Dortmund. Someone might actually just go, you know what, we're going to take a chance on him.
Big-ish, not spectacular chance for Henderson, but big enough chance.
Yeah, half chance, you know, kind of a scuff cross into the box, and it's kind of a little bit behind him, but he's dug it out, and it just spun past the far post. But it's probably Liverpool's kind of closest they've come to scoring.
He tried to direct it with the side foot into the far corner. There wasn't much more he could do the way the ball came
not
out.
at all, and I think just the spin on the ball just was unlucky. But Oxlade-Chamberlain's just come on for Mo Salah. I think just to maybe inject some life into it. I'd be curious now of what Jurgen Klopp is thinking insofar as at what point does he say, I'm not going to concede a second and stop pushing, because if Liverpool get desperate here and start pushing and committing players forward, they'll leave the back door open. Or does he think that he needs to get something out of the game tonight, at least a draw? Yeah. But taking Mo Salah off and bringing Oxlade-Chamberlain on, I think he's probably just trying to achieve some fresh legs. He's good in the middle of the park, Oxlade-Chamberlain, because Liverpool are finding it very, very hard to break down that middle of the park, and Oxlade-Chamberlain is quite good at that. And
this is all full of ifs and buts and maybes and things which are impossible to predict. But even we were just saying during the ad break, if it stays 1-0 tonight, if Atletico, say they score another goal from an early corner in Anfield, suddenly Liverpool looking at 3 goals at home against this side, even at Anfield on a special European night and all that goes with it, that's tricky.
Yeah, you're not going to do that, to be honest with you. But look, he's probably going to have a little bit of a go here without going gung-ho, knowing that there is another...
Look at Simeone getting the crowd to go ballistic.
another 90 minutes to come at Anfield, and Liverpool will fancy the chances of at least scoring, so if they can keep it to 1, they're definitely back in the tie.
Okay. 15 minutes to go, so I mean, look, much to happen over the next 15 minutes, I'm sure. You would have seen the news of Harry Gregg and his passing at the age of 87, generally regarded as one of the finest goalkeepers of his era. Famously at the Munich air crash in 1958, he escaped from the wreckage and then, ignoring, as you can imagine, the general advice, he went back towards the wreckage and he went into the burning debris and he pulled the wife of a diplomat who was on the flight from the wreckage. She was pregnant. She also had a young daughter with her. He dragged those 2 away, and then he went back again and he dragged away Albert Scanlon, Ray Wood, Jackie Blanchflower, and then Bobby Charlton and Dennis Viollet were both unconscious, and he dragged those 2 away by their trouser waistbands. So extraordinary, and all survived as well. So he has passed away, Harry Gregg, at the age of 87. Back in 2008, Oisin Langan did an interview with him. And obviously 1958, as well as being Munich, was also the 1958 World Cup. Harry Gregg was voted the best goalkeeper of the tournament. Northern Ireland reached the quarter-finals that year. So he passed away on Sunday at the age of 87, often referred to as the hero of Munich. So here's, we just wanted to play a couple of minutes of Oisin Langan in conversation with Harry Gregg. He asks him here for his memories of playing in the 58 World Cup just a few months after Munich.
A wonderful memory for the North of Ireland team, because the fact that they had qualified in qualifying for the finals, they had knocked the great Italian country out of the World Cup for the first and the only time that they have never reached the finals. So it was a wonderful time for the Northern Ireland team. It was a wonderful time for me. It came a short time after the accident. It came after playing and losing in the final at Wembley. It came after other things that happened around that time, and for me, I went out. They were worried about my top 4 inches. The country flying, Northern Ireland team flew out, so suggested I went out by rail and by ferry. And I tell you, it was a wonderful relief for me, because having a good time in the finals and going through to the quarter-final, I decided for the first time I would fly after Munich. So in a way, it relieved all the pressure that had been in my head and in my body around that period of time.
Do you think that was important, that you kept playing football and a couple of your teammates who...
That was very, very, very important to me, very important. Yeah. I think the fact that I was able to get involved in the game almost immediately, 13 days after the accident, I think I would have gone insane sitting around home and sitting and moping. The best thing that could happen for me was to get down to Old Trafford, to the training ground, and kick lumps out of people and let people kick lumps out of me. In hindsight, it was a safety valve.
This year was a very special anniversary. I mean, and the club and the players and the current crop of players, they couldn't have marked it any better by winning the Champions League. But I read quotes from you in the run-up to that. You were very adamant in not putting pressure on them and not making it just about that in the run into that match against Chelsea in Russia.
That's what I felt about it, and sadly I turned out to be correct, because prior to the ceremony, or the week after the ceremony, the weekend, they played Manchester City, and they had people out on the pitch laying down a wreath on behalf of what happened 50 years before, and sadly the whole emotional thing backfired on today's players, which I thought was terribly, terribly unfair. I didn't go to that game. I had an invite, and I thought, no, they have their pressure for today playing in a derby game. The club, as you say, the club did it very, very well. You know why they did it well? Everyone wants to talk about my teammates, about the team I played in, but there were a lot more people on board that aircraft. There was 9 great journalists, 8 of them were killed. There was a Yugoslav diplomat. There was a supporter called Willie Satinoff, who paid his own to go there, and he lost his life. Those people have got to be remembered as well. My teammates were wonderful friends, but in my head I always think the journalists and the other people, their children must have said each time there was a celebration of the Busby Babes, what about my dad? Those things are terribly important to me.
Do you find it hard to talk about, or do you think it actually honours those who have passed, be it the players or the people you mentioned, when you do?
I find it hard to talk about, because when the damn thing did happen, there were only two people there. One man that knew what was going on, that was the pilot, the one that wasn't trapped, Jim Thane. I didn't know what the possibility of what was going to happen. To me, I felt for everybody involved aboard that aircraft. And I repeat, it is nice that my teammates be remembered. It's nice that the Busby Babes be remembered. They were a wonderful young group that broke the mould. Matt Busby brought youth on the side. I was from the outside. Proud to be part of that, but there was also all the other people on board the aircraft that had families.
I'm glad you mentioned Sir Matt Busby. Many people compare him and Sir Alex Ferguson to each other. Do you think that's unfair because they're both managing at very different times, or they both managed at very different times?
I think it's a compliment to what Matt Busby created in the first place, i.e. the coming on the scene of youth and bringing youth into it. I think it's unfair to compare the two of them. The game has changed dramatically from my time and Matt Busby, or Sir Matt Busby's time. At the same time, Alex Ferguson has done, in my lifetime, and I'm not being critical, Manchester United have only had two managers, Matt Busby and Alex Ferguson. Those that came in between, no.
It is a huge club, but I suppose maybe it strikes people as odd sometimes that they've had two periods of success, and outside of that they've struggled. I mean, when Sir Matt was in charge, and obviously since Alex Ferguson came in 1986, and even he struggled for a while. What do you think it is about United?
It was a shadow of Matt Busby. It was a shadow of the Busby Babes to a certain extent in relation to those between Sir Matt and Alex Ferguson. There are things I really don't want to go into too deeply. Being the Edwards family who come on the scene. Louis Edwards, who arrived after the crash, had nothing to do with Manchester United Football Club when I arrived at that club. I had never met him. And then his son Martin took over when Louis Edwards died, when everyone thought that Matt Busby should have taken over as chairman, which I personally thought myself, but who am I? And in that period of time, there was a lot of things happened at that club that I personally did not agree with, that club did not deserve. That club deserved better things, and people appeared on the scene. Of all the ones that were in between, there was only one that I thought deserved to be there, but he couldn't carry the burden of what had happened before, if you understand what I'm trying to say, and that was Dave Saxon. Dave Saxon was a nice man. I thought he could have been right for the club, but unfortunately, to be great, you've got to be able to live with greatness. That's my opinion. And Dave's shortcoming was he couldn't live with what had happened before, the Busby Babes. He was the one between Matt and Alec that I felt for.
What do you make of the club when you look at it now? I mean, what's going on, we'll say, with Malcolm Glazier? There seems to be a certain amount of resilience towards him from the fans and certain elements of the club itself.
Well, the club in my time, I never played at Old Trafford, even in my time, when it wasn't a full house. They went down the drain, they went down into the second division, which people forget about. I was the one that coined the phrase that Manchester United, when the crash happened, became an institution, not a football club. And I said that around the time that the Munich air disaster turned a wonderful football club into a world institution, and I think that has been proved over the years. They're all across the world, no matter where you go. I have travelled a little bit in my time, even Middle East many years ago, and someone has said to me in the lift, going up in the lift in the Middle East, Manchester United. And this was in the Arab world many years ago. They're an institution, a world institution.
And an institution in which Irishmen from both sides of the borders have always been very special to.
Almost definitely. Before my time, before Jackie Blanchflower's time, before a lot of the players, before Johnny Giles, before poor Liam Whelan, before all those people, there was Tommy Breen, people long before your time you wouldn't remember that kept goals from Manchester United. There were other players from Dublin that went there. There's that great affiliation with Ireland, and I say Ireland, not North, not South. Great affiliation with Ireland. And the support they get from here is unbelievable.
Would you still follow the club day in, day out? Would you still go to a lot of games?
I don't go to games. I don't go to games. I have season tickets, which I buy, which I pay for. I don't go because I've had my day. I had my day twice at Old Trafford. I was there as a player. 17 years after I left, I was invited back as a coach, which I did do, and I loved it. Then a gentleman called Ron Atkinson turned up on the scene, and him and I had bad trouble beforehand, and there was no way I was going to exist, so I missed coming away the second time. The first time my time was up as a player. The second time I was hurt when I left because I felt let down. They had asked me to come back and do the coaching. I was enjoying it. They get a new manager, and it wasn't only a matter of he's bringing his own people. We had problems prior to that. Great club, wonderful club.
Do you pay special attention, we'll say, to the goalkeepers they've had in the last couple of years, given that was your position?
I do. I pay attention to any goalkeeper playing, not just at Old Trafford. But to talk about goalkeepers today compared to going back 30 years ago in my time, I occasionally would go and sit down with people and do a chat. And what I say is the game has changed so much, and I can't blame the players. I watch goalkeepers now dribbling the ball out. The game has changed dramatically. It's almost become a non-contact sport. That's what I feel about football.
I mean, when you see some of the decisions given now that go in favour of goalkeepers, do you think, God, when I was playing, guys would pile in on top of me like a ruck in rugby or something?
Of course you would do. Well, I think the best way to put it is a great man who made me what I was, Peter Doherty, Peter the Great. He always said anyone can play and do tricks in an empty room. That is very true. When you think about Nobby Stiles today playing would be banned for life. David Mackay, who played for Spurs, would have been banned for life. Nat Lofthouse would have got the death penalty for what he did to me, and I'd have got the death penalty for some of the things. But those days are gone, and it's not for the benefit of football. I had no time for filth and dirt and bad play. That's it. But physical contact, anyone can play any game in an empty room.
Just before I let you go, what players do you like watching now? What players do you rate?
I like the boy at Old Trafford, Ronaldo. I'd love to watch him. I think he's brilliant. I know he's got a little bit of these things attached to him yet from the foreign game. I think he's unbelievable. Scholesy for me. I love the boy, Rooney, today. Yeah. They're throwbacks to the old days.
I was just about to say, Rooney, he's a striker, but he's very hard. I mean, that's something you must admire.
He takes me back to before my time even. Dixie Dean, he even looks like Dixie Dean. Apart from great ability, built like a brick shit house, for want of a better expression. We'll go through you as quick as we go past you. That used to be part of the game. You don't see Rooney. No, I shouldn't. You don't see him lying down and dying when somebody gives him a whack. He's up and he's after him. I've never met him, by the way, so I'm not patronising. Roy Keane. Yeah. Tell you what, he was my type of player. I don't know what he's like as a manager, but he was my type of player. He didn't take prisoners. He didn't go looking for it. But if you asked for it, I heard Gilesy speaking, Johnny Giles, and I thought, great Gilesy. He said, managers are saying our players are not getting protection. He said, we protected ourselves. Very, very true. That's how much the game has changed. Gilesy, I was lucky I met great people. Even the Dunphy fella. Unbelievable people. I hear people having a go at Dunphy now. Do you know why I admire Dunphy? 16 years of age, and we're playing up the back, and he's a kid, and I give him a whack. I challenged him, and he turned and he said to me, you're going to what? I'm going to see a solicitor about you, so I hit him a cuff around the ear hole. But you know what I admired about Dunphy? Even at 16 years of age, Eamon Dunphy, a 16-year-old child, had the same opinions and was strong enough willed to speak his piece in the dressing room. So Dunphy hasn't changed, and it's not an invention over the years. If he has an opinion, not always right, none of us are, he will state it. And I have time for people like that.
Wow, that's brilliant. Harry Gregg. You can download the full podcast. I will be doing so on the way home. Harry Gregg in conversation with Oisín Langan on Off the Ball back in 2008. Tough man, impressive man, passed away at the age of 87. It is still 1-0 to Atletico Madrid against Liverpool, and Borussia Dortmund, while we were playing out the Harry Gregg interview, Neymar equalised. Haaland had scored for Dortmund. Neymar equalised. 2 minutes later, Haaland scores again. Dortmund are 2-1 up. I think you might be right about somebody swooping for Haaland sooner rather than later. Don't sit in your hands. This guy's pretty much a sure bet.
Yeah, you'd be interested to see what his bio clause would be at Dortmund, you know, because I think they probably put him there because maybe they thought going to a massive club, it was a bit too soon for him, and they said, you know, let's move up through the levels. But I mean, he's going to blitz this one, and if he can carry Dortmund really deep in the Champions League, I think he might be gone again.
Yeah, absolutely. Any thoughts in the last couple of minutes in Madrid?
I mean, like, it's as poor as I've seen Trent Alexander-Arnold in possession. He's turned the ball over continuously. He looks indecisive. His crossing has been really poor. But having said that, he's been so good for Liverpool. It's probably just an off night for him. I wouldn't be judging him too hard. He's been solid defensively. He's worked hard. He's got up and down. So he's done everything you kind of expected of him. At one point, I think Thomas for Atletico Madrid has been the best player on the pitch. I mean, he covers an insane amount of ground. A lot of it goes unnoticed, but he gets his toe in so often and gets forward and gets back. He's just a real dynamic performance. Ghanaian international. I didn't know a whole lot about him, but watching him tonight, he just interrupts everything, and he just disrupts Liverpool, and he covers a lot of ground. He's very, very quick.
Atletico in a microcosm.
Yeah.
They've been really good. 4 minutes of added time. We're going to take a short ad break, and then final thoughts. Presumably on the full-time whistle, we'll see if there's another late twist in tonight's game.
Off the Ball on News Talk.
Have you checked out the new Red Cow Moran Hotel? Wow, the sky really is the limit as we've added another 2 floors. The new superior bedrooms of this iconic hotel now boast their own winter gardens and panoramic views over the city. Red Cow Moran Hotel, transforming before your eyes. Visit redcowmoranhotel.com.
A dog like me isn't easily impressed, but your man doesn't seem to be doing too bad with the business. Not that I tell him. Even saved a few quid by insuring the van with the AA, so I can continue to sit up here, riding shotgun, lord of all I see. I tell you, if I had 2 tails, I'd wag them.
Did you know that the AA does van insurance too? Go to the AA.ie and get €75 off today. Who's got clever van insurance? Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Minimum premium of €339. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Home sweet home. Maybe it's in the middle of town or the middle of nowhere, or maybe you haven't found your home just yet. That's why our Bank of Ireland mortgage specialists cover the length and breadth of Ireland to meet you at a time that suits you best. Meet us in branch, in a coffee shop, or even in the little slice of country you call home to chat about your personal mortgage plans. Anywhere, anytime. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Lending criteria and terms and conditions apply. Security and insurance required. Over 18s only. Bank of Ireland Mortgage Bank, trading as Bank of Ireland Mortgages, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Closing time. A girl sits alone on the curb. Head down, worse for wear.
Do you remember me?
This young lad sits beside her.
No.
Says he knows her. Can walk her to her place.
Your friends told me to take you home.
His pals don't blink when she staggers and falls. They shrug it off with,
Nice work, pal.
Here, better leave it to it.
Enough is enough. Let's stop excusing sexual harassment and sexual violence. Learn more at gov.ie/no-excuses or in an emergency call 999. This is an initiative of the Government of Ireland.
Every Ford car is designed to stop you in your tracks, just like our amazing 201 test drive event. Take a test drive this February for unbeatable savings. Get 2 years free motor tax, a registration bonus of up to €1,750 and a 3.9% low APR. But that's not all. You'll also get a 7-year warranty and 7-year roadside assist. This offer ends February 29th, 2020. Don't miss out. Book a test drive at your local participating Ford dealer. The 201 test drive event as part of our 201 sales event only at Ford. Terms and conditions apply. See Ford.ie. Offer on selected vehicles only. Applicable to new vehicle orders and registrations between February 1st and February 29th.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back to the last 5 minutes of the show or so. We are into added time in Madrid, where Liverpool trail 1-0, and it's just gone full-time in Dortmund, where, well, thanks to Mr. Haaland, Dortmund have beaten PSG by 2-1. Messi did equalise for Neymar. We've just had a look here at Haaland's second goal, where left-footed, he drives the ball into the roof of the net. The place erupts. Even the Dortmund bench are just looking around in amazement at what we have here. How have we got this guy?
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
It's fairy tale stuff.
Yeah, in fairness, I mean, listen, this is what I was saying about PSG, you know, they come into these top ties now and they've got to go back to the Parc des Princes and hopefully do a job. But
it's a big step up for PSG, there's no doubt. It's very difficult.
It is, to go from what they're playing. It's like, you know, it's going from a jog and a canter into a full-out sprint. It's difficult, you know.
I asked this question full in the knowledge that, you know, even against Norwich at the weekend, it's not like it was easy for Liverpool, but have Liverpool, to a lesser extent, in comparison with PSG, gone from too much of a jog and a canter into the cauldron that is this game tonight?
I think Liverpool have had to work for every game. They've not coasted in any game that you've played. They've really had to dig out late wins and stick in games and be really, really dogged in what they're doing. And I think that at the moment, if PSG can kind of come through this, it might kind of get them up and running, and then the Champions League comes hard and fast for them, you know. So it just looks like they're going to fall at the first hurdle, because you could imagine Haaland scoring again out in Paris.
Full time, Liverpool have been beaten. That is not a sentence that we say very often. So they will go, let it go to Anfield with a 1-goal lead, and obviously if they can nick a goal over there, then over to you, Liverpool, come and score 3 at us, because that's not going to happen. So it's now a bit of a high-stakes act for Liverpool, isn't it, at Anfield?
I don't think Jurgen Klopp would be too overly worried, to be honest with you. It's probably a scenario that he envisaged. It was, you know, 1-0 to Atletico, and he thought we might have to put on a special night of European football at Anfield. So I think he'd have prepared for this, and in his head he would have been thinking it's not the end of the world.
I heard a lot of people predict Liverpool would at least draw, if not win. I must say I fancied Atletico just in this environment, underdog again, a game that they've had time to prepare for, Simeone masterclass. I'd be very worried about the Anfield fixture now. I think as much as Jurgen Klopp might be fine with this and have planned for this, Simeone with this is lethal. This team at Anfield will be lethal.
Yeah, I know, but I think Liverpool at Anfield are one of the best teams I've seen, and I just think that he'll call on that special night and just set a tempo and a home crowd, and you know, hopefully Alexander-Arnold will be back on form, because they had nothing down the right side attacking wise. They really needed him to step up, especially with the way, you know, with the way they packed the middle of the park. Wide is an area that you could potentially get at them if you can get down the sides and behind them and cross the ball. So hopefully at Anfield he'll be back.
So for people who've been hearing about Atletico's decline and 4th in La Liga and not quite at it, rumours of their decline have been greatly exaggerated.
Well, look, I said
they were good tonight.
I said at the top of the show that the big nights bring out the big performances and big players, and I think, you know, they might be stuttering and maybe the adrenaline doesn't flow as much in a La Liga game. But, you know, Champions League music tonight, you know, it really does bring the best, and they got everything. He got everything you could ever ask for. Yeah,
I'd be interested to see the running stats tonight for that game. So there we are, 1-0. That is suddenly beautifully set up for Anfield's second leg. Don't forget tomorrow morning, OTBAM, 7:30, all our social channels or the Go Loud app. The lads will be talking to Graham Hunter, so he'll give his perspective on the game. They will also be talking to Sean Prunty and to Tyson Fury's former trainer, Ben Davidson, which should be very good. Tomorrow night, you're back with us.
Yeah.
We've got more Champions League. We've also got Will Greenwood with us, who's going to be talking to us on Wednesday Night Rugby, and a few more bits besides. Tom Dunn on the way next. Damien Delaney, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll talk to you tomorrow night. Good luck.